The Nebraska Cornhuskers have a squad coming into the 24-25 season. Coach Mark Manning, Coach Snyder, Tervel, James Green. What a coaching staff. And they made, I think it was like a week ago, there was an announcement that Coach Manning did an interview with Ryan Holmes where he talked about some major lineup changes. We're going to get into that. I think at the top, I'll mention, I think this is a team that can absolutely finish in the top four and bring home a trophy. And that's something that Coach Manning and company have been striving to get to that point, and they've had teams that can do it. It's putting it together at the NCAA tournament. That has eluded this team a little bit, and we'll see if they can put it together. I think they can for the 24-25 season. I'm going to give you their lineup. I'm going to give you a sense of what these guys have accomplished and maybe level set the expectations for that particular weight class in wrestlers. So starting at 125, Caleb Smith. He's entering his senior year for the Cornhuskers. He transferred in last year, had a great year for the Cornhuskers, but definitely some up and down moments. Now, it was 125 where we saw every single wrestler was up and down throughout the year, but when I give you these wins, there's no doubt this is a national title contending type of wrestler. Caleb Smith, he beat Matt Ramos NCAA Finals. He beat Luke Stanich, who was ranked number one and was an All-American last year. He beat Braden Davis, the number one seed going into the NCAA tournament. Troy Spratley, multiple wins over Tanner Jordan. I mean, you take those wins, that's an NCAA champion type of resume. But you look at some of these losses. You're teched by Pat McKee, and you have a weird match against Eric Barnett and a couple other losses along the way. And you're left with you're kind of in the middle, right? But there's no question that Caleb Smith at 125 can go with every single one of these wrestlers. On his feet, he can get a takedown against just about everyone. If he can have a modicum of improvement from the mat, just getting off the bottom, avoiding those big turns and those scoring sequences, Caleb Smith, good enough to win a national title. Certainly already proven he's good enough to place. He's done that. 133, sophomore Jacob Van D. He was one of the biggest surprises for me last year. He was not on my radar. And if you looked at his results coming into last year, you'd kind of understand why. But I've already mentioned kind of the development we see at Nebraska. They get their guys better and better and better. And that's what we saw with Jacob Van D. Now the question for Jacob is he ready to take that next step forward, or is he going to kind of hang around that round of 16, round of 12 zone? That's the big question. But once again, you look at these wins, Dylan Ragusin, Brody Teske, Nick Bouzakis. That's a resume of an All-American. But the losses, the inconsistency with Van D, that's what he's got to shore up. But you got to remember, he was a freshman last year. A really tough weight class, really tough schedule. Now a year of seasoning. I think he's going to be ready to shore up some of those consistency issues. He'll push for the podium. Will he get there? I don't predict he'll get top 8, but I think he's going to be probably a round of 12 guy, and he's going to be right there to place this year. 141, Brock Hardy. This is a guy, without a doubt, with a national champion resume. He's got age-level world medals. He's got a win over Real Woods, a win over Bo Bartlett. He's beaten Sergio Lemney, Ryan Jack. I mean, that's rarefied air for wins at this weight class for Brock Hardy, who is still just a junior. Can he make the NCAA finals? Yes, without a doubt. Do I think the depth of that weight class is maybe going to play against him when you've got Jesse Mendez, who's only getting better? You've got Andrew Lira is now back in the mix. And then you have Bo Bartlett still there. And Real Woods is now gone. But I think Brock Hardy is a guy who can definitely place very, very high. He can beat any one of these guys. But I think if you're looking for where he lands, I think he's probably landing in that kind of mid-AA sort of range, in that 4 through 6 range. I think that's where he's at. But no doubt he can take a step forward and potentially be wrestling in the NCAA finals if things break his way. A really fun guy to watch. I mean, his fluency and ability to wrestle in scrambles and generate offense and score. He's a really fun guy to watch. I encourage you to check out some of his matches. 149, everyone knows this guy, Ridge Lovett. He was the consensus national champion prediction going into last year's NCAA tournament. He was the number 1 seed, Big Ten champ. He had won Cliff Keen Las Vegas, and you're thinking, all right, he's going to do it this year. He's already been in the finals. He's been an All-American. He's going to win it this year. And he took a really close loss to Caleb Henson in the semis, and then he did the semi slide where he lost in the semis, and then the consolation semis, and then the 5th, 6th place match. But make no mistake, Ridge Lovett is a national title caliber wrestler. What he can do wrestling from top, what he can do in terms of counter scoring, and now if he can get just a little bit better in generating offense from the neutral position, particularly leg attacks, he could be the favorite to win 149. And there's no doubt he can win 149 pounds this year. He's beaten the guys, he's beaten the top contenders at this weight class. He's just got to put it together. And that's what a common theme with this team. You know they're high watermarks for these wrestlers. It's, can Nebraska get these guys at the NCAA tournament to hit that high watermark and do it at the NCAA tournament? That's going to be the question, and that's where their fate is truly going to be lie. It's not, are these guys good enough? It's, can they put it together at NCAAs? A guy I'm really excited about for Nebraska, 157, Andell Taylor. Now, he was a 157-pounder last year. He just wrestled up at 165 because they had Peyton Robin. It was much better for their lineup. And in spite of that, this guy got on the podium. Very, very stingy wrestler defensively. And I think it down at 157, this is a weight with a little bit of uncertainty. It's kind of without a clear, top guy, because you've got Levi Haynes was the undefeated national champion. He's gone. He's moving up to 174, it seems. So who's going to take the reins there? And I'm not predicting Andell Taylor potential NCAA finalist for this year. I don't think he's quite there yet. I think he needs a little bit more offense to get there. But there's no question he can be a top 4, top 5 guy, taking a step forward. And who knows, maybe we'll see more offense out of Andell now that he's down at his more natural weight class of 157. A lot of reasons for excitement for Andell Taylor, just a sophomore for Nebraska. I think he's going to have a big, big year. Is a little more under the radar for most people. I think he's going to be more of a household name coming into this year. 165, Bubba Wilson moving down, and this is a big theme for Nebraska. Basically, the whole top half of their lineup is shifting down in weight. So Andell's shifting down. Bubba Wilson was at 174, did not qualify, going down to 165, where he's a 2-time NCAA qualifier, and I expect him to qualify again for Nebraska at 165. The big shakeup here is 174, Lenny Pinto, who had spent his career basically at 184, now moving down to 174. And when you are looking for adjectives to describe Lenny Pinto, the power, the strength this guy has, it's sort of like He-Man. It's mythological. A powerhouse. And he's got some amazing wins. The watermark here is insane. This is a guy with wins over Trey Munoz, Dustin Plott, Bennett Berge, all All-Americans. He beat Dylan Fishback. He beat Bernie Truax, an All-American. Very, very elite wins, but as I've said with a lot of their guys, can he put it together at the NCAA tournament? That's the question for Lenny. And now down at 174, how is he going to look? Could that be, could it make taking his power and what his skill set already is down at 174, he could be a nightmare at this weight class. He's already proven he can beat the best of the best at 184 by and large. Can he do it down at 174, a weight with Keegan O'Toole, with Levi Haynes, Rocco Welsh, NCAA finals? I think he's, without a doubt, a guy that could be in the top 5 at 174 pounds. Moving up to 184 is a guy moving down from 197, Silas Alred. This guy, again, on paper, can be a very, very high place winner, but he's 2-time round of 12 so far. He's a Big Ten champion. He's a guy with multiple wins over national champion Max Dean. Like, that's a resume of a guy that should be on the podium, right? Has not been able to put it together yet. I think we'll be able to see that at 184. I've always felt he was a little undersized. Now making the move down to 184 makes sense for Nebraska, but I think it makes a lot of sense for Silas as well. I think he's going to do a nice job there, but this is a nasty, nasty weight class. You got Carter Starachi, 4-time champ. Parker Keckheisen, dominant national champion a year ago. Dustin Plott, NCAA finalist, is back at this weight class. So while Allred's got a lot of great wins, he's to get high on the podium. I'm not sure that's his ceiling. I think mid AA to low AA, but that would still be an improvement from his previous finishes off the podium. And for Nebraska to enter that trophy conversation, they need Silas Alred to produce at the NCAA tournament. And a lot of this move, and what gives me some confidence for Nebraska this year, is sliding Camden McDaniel in at 197, a freshman, and he could redshirt this year, I believe. So they're saying, hey, this guy is ready to rock and roll, and we're going to shift basically our entire lineup so we can get this guy in. Now, I don't think that may be a little reductive and not necessarily the case and why they're doing it. But they clearly think McDaniel's going to be ready to go out the gate. And, he doesn't have the folk style results at this point at the NCAA level, but what he's done as a freestyler, as a U20 world bronze medalist, that's a real accomplishment. So look for him to have a nice showing. Still a little bit of an unknown, but there's no doubt this is a vote of confidence from Mark Manning and staff to say, hey, yeah, Camden McDaniel, we want you as our starter at 197 this year. So look for him to have a big year. It's a really tough weight class. It's a very deep weight class. So for him to get on the podium, I'm not going there yet, but this is the makings of a treacherous dual meet team if all these guys are in the lineup. And then they're going to have Harley Andrews rounding it out, and this is maybe going to be a tougher weight class for Nebraska in terms of productivity. But when you've got the first 9 that these guys have, they're going to be formidable in a lot of dual meets, a lot of tournaments. Very, very excited to watch this Nebraska Cornhuskers team unfold. And it's a sort of an unprecedented thing to see a team shift this much of their lineup down. We haven't really seen it. But I don't have a lot of questions that it's going to be productive for them. It's going to help them in dual meets. It's going to help them in tournaments. And I think for a lot of their wrestlers, it's going to get them in their ideal weight class. And that's very exciting. But where do you see Nebraska finishing? Can this team make the trophy? Are they going to be outside the top 4? Can they do something even more impressive and finish in that top 2 or 3? I want to hear from you. What are you expecting from the Huskers this year?